Hey,
Hey Instagram, hey YouTube. So great to have all of you join us. We have a very exciting cello mastery series. Today we have a very special guest. We have Jeremy Harmon, and he's going to talk to us all about how to rock it out on the cello. And I want to learn because, I'm mostly from a classical music background. I have an electric cello that is waiting for me to do something meaningful to it, and I feel like I haven't. So today we're going to learn from the master. And I mean, he is a master, let me tell you, because I've been following Jeremy for a while. And first I got to know Jeremy from the Series Quartet, and they are absolutely fantastic. They're a contemporary music quartet that plays a lot of times original music written by members of the quartet, right? And you guys just do very unconventional genre bending music, and it sounds amazing. And also you guys jam out, you improvise. So that's what makes his group so unique. So just a little bit about Jeremy. He was born in Nova Scotia in Canada and grew up in Kansas City, and he's now in Western Massachusetts. And I told you about Series Quartet, and now this is a very exciting thing we have to find out all about, because he is the new artistic director of the New Directions Cello Festival. Okay, so and they basically focus on like modern, contemporary, non-traditional cello playing, which is what we're going to learn all about today. So Jeremy, welcome to my show.
hey guys, hey everybody! Thanks so much for having me, Wendy. A total pleasure. It's an honor to be here on your show.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So tell me, how have you been? First of all,
We've been doing all right, hanging in there. Things are slowly kind of returning to normal here in the northeastern U.S. And so, just I've been spending most of the year. I've been very fortunate to continue teaching a lot remotely, so I've been spending a lot of time with my students, as I normally would, just doing it kind of in the virtual way. And got two young kids at home. I've got a 6-year-old son and a 2-year-old daughter, so they keep me pretty busy. And but yeah, just hanging in there. But grateful to kind of reach this point, and just hoping everybody out there is doing well and staying healthy physically and mentally.
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole remote teaching and learning thing really has given us a lot of opportunities to meet, like you, for example, online that we normally may not do, but the pandemic has given us that opportunity, which is, I mean, of course, a lot of sad things happen during the pandemic, but also given us a lot of opportunities. So I heard that you brought some music for us today.
I have some music, indeed. Yes. In fact, when I was talking to you, we were back and forth this past week about doing this. I was thinking, like, man, what could I play? And there was this old song of mine that I wrote that, like, I haven't played in a long time. That kind of just, I don't know. I just thought I wanted to pull it out, dust it off, and maybe give it a spin again. So, do you want me to talk about it a little bit?
Yes. Wait, when you say an old song of yours, do you mean you wrote that piece?
Yeah. So this is a piece, like, I wouldn't consider myself, like a composer in the sense of, like, I don't write,
You're a composer. Yes, you are.
I like to write music.
I've heard your stuff. He's amazing. He wrote some really cool stuff for Series Quartet. Yeah.
I like to write music, but it's usually in a very, like, small scale form. I've always kind of written music for, like, myself or groups that I'm involved with.
Yeah.
And so that's, starting as a teenager writing, like, electric guitar riffs, which maybe we'll get into in a little bit. But
right, because you played the guitar before you played the cello, is that right? Yeah,
I started playing cello first and then picked up guitar a few years later. My father was a professional jazz guitarist, so I was kind of always around it.
That makes sense.
So yeah, and
that's in your blood.
It's kind of in my blood, yeah. I feel like I kind of am in some ways like a guitarist at heart that just sort of like happened to stumble on the cello.
Express it through the cello, right?
Yeah.
I want to learn some of that. Maybe afterwards. So first, why don't we tell us about this piece and then share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I always, like on both guitar and cello, just always like kind of noodling around and experimenting with things, taking ideas from guitar, trying them out on cello and vice versa. And So yeah, I've written a fair amount of like solo cello music over the years, and this is a piece that I wrote, I don't know, probably over 10 years ago. It's kind of an old one. It's a piece, it's called A Day in the Grid. It's about a 4-minute, like kind of rock funk piece, I guess you could say. I used to play with this singer-songwriter that was based up in Portland, Maine, and we had a trio where he was playing guitar and singing. There was a bass player and then a cellist. So it was cool. He wanted cello in his group, and
Yeah.
he'd always be like, "Hey man, do you want to, do something solo in the middle of the set just to kind of break it up?" And so I started playing this song, and so I played it mostly like in bars and pubs and stuff like that. And it was always just cool to see people's reaction. And I think one thing that I've really learned from playing in a lot of like non-traditional settings is just how much people love our instrument.
Yeah.
From all walks of life and with all kinds of taste in music and everything. So this was always just kind of like a fun one to share with them. So.
All right.
Yeah,
Let's
you want me to
hear
play
it.
it?
Yes, please. I'm going to try to remove myself on YouTube and let your screen shine. So let me know, everybody on the chat, if this works out, okay?
Yep.
Removing myself. Here we go.
Cool. I'm going to scoot back a little bit. So I think my Instagram angle is not so great here. Hopefully that's good enough. All right. So yeah, so this is a song called A Day in the Grid. Let's see.
Press like if you're like, wow, that was amazing.
Thanks.
It's
Thanks,
so
it was
cool.
A fun one. That's a fun one to play. Yeah.
Very fun.
To,
but also, you know, what's really cool is all these like special technique that I want to learn how to do. like all this what they call chopping, right? Like,
Yeah,
can you give us like a quick lesson on how to chop, or maybe give me a quick lesson?
for sure.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna move
absolutely.
back. Okay, I kind of learned it, but that's like definitely not like a specialty. Like I don't really know how to do it. I just did it maybe once.
You
Can
know,
you show us how?
Absolutely. It's a really, really cool, really useful technique that
Yeah.
I have heard kind of originally came from bluegrass.
Okay.
For myself, I think I discovered it again, like, and I guess we'll talk about this. It'll be like a theme of what a lot of what I talk about is that like my cello playing was so heavily, at least this stuff was kind of so heavily informed by guitar playing.
Right.
That the bow chop, it reminded me a lot of like in guitar playing what you call fret hand muting, right? Which would be like, you know, turn my cello into a guitar here for a second.
Yes.
So imagine I'm like strumming. Let's say I'm strumming, and if I mute my left hand, I know you can't. Can you see this?
Yes.
Now you get like a percussive kind of a sound, right? Right. So that's like, I don't know, like the pizzicato equivalent. But when you do it with your bow, it sounds kind of like this.
Are you using your fingers?
The way that I describe it a lot of times is it's kind of like an exaggerated spiccato. That's kind of how I think about it. With a spiccato, you know, depending on the speed, I guess you're using your wrist and fingers mostly. The difference being that when you're chopping, you don't want there to be a rebound like there would be with spiccato. So you want your fingers and wrists really relaxed, and it does help to kind of mute, like lightly touch the strings with your left hand. I don't know if you guys on Instagram can see this. I'm gonna hold my cello up. That looks pretty good. Yeah, the way that I think of it, it's kind of like you need the right balance between like a vertical drop and then like a horizontal, like almost. I think it's helpful to think of it like a down bow, basically.
Oh. So there's definitely some finger action.
I think just being really loose. Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can experiment with like with a part of the string that you do it on, because you know, as you guys probably know, like the closer you get to the bridge, the more overtones you get. So you might get like a more like a brighter chop. In fact, a lot of people that I see, and there's certainly people that can do this better than me, but a lot of people will like actually kind of find a lower spot in the string to chop on. Right, so that, you know, they might play something, you know, just as an example, let's say if I've got a little groove going like this, they might aim for like a lower spot on the string, so you kind of have like one lane for your like, yeah, here, try this, let's start with like, we'll try this, we'll go like down, up, up, chop, so it'll be like.
So down, up, chop.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Totally, that's good. Yep. And then.
Oh, I have to dampen it, right?
It helps. It helps if you dampen. It does help if you dampen. It's not essential, but it does help. So what I'm actually doing, and this is again kind of, at least for me, like something that sort of came from guitar, is lifting up the pressure, right? So since I'm playing with my A, like a low A here, I keep my first finger down, but I'm just lightening the pressure, so I'm just touching it, like if you were playing like a natural harmonic or something.
You mean when you do chop, you lighten it up?
Just at the moment that you chop. So there's.
Oh, let me try. That's a squeak.
Yeah. That's it. You could. So maybe try this. Maybe don't go quite so far down in the string, and maybe and just first see what that sounds like.
Am I pressing too?
That was a pretty good one. Alternatively, you could try this. You could use your other fingers that aren't active and just drop them lightly on the string. You can see if that helps.
That helps.
Nice.
What do you guys think?
I think that sounds good, Wendy. I think that sounds good.
Okay, I told everybody to bring their cellos. Did everybody bring your cello? Get your cello out. We're having a lesson right now with Jeremy Harmon on how to rock out on a cello. And then lesson number 1 is how do you chop, which he just did all over his piece. It's all over the place. I was looking, I was like, wow.
That's a pretty chop heavy one.
Yeah. All right. So I think I just got the basics. I think I have to practice it and just kind of get the right sound in the right spot. I think that's what you're saying.
Yep. Now let's say here, why don't you take it a step further? So let's say you've got this little chop groove happening, and why don't we create a little bass line? So maybe we take A as our first note, Let's make C. Why don't we do C as our second note? And then why don't we do G as our third note? And let's do D as our fourth note. So let me show you. So we'll do each cycle once. So we'll go A, open C, open G, D on the C string. You can just loop that. G. Right? So really quickly, you can take this sort of like cellular idea, keep the rhythm the same, maybe change your notes, and you can create a bass line. You can create chord progressions if you add upper notes. And there's just, yeah, the possibilities are pretty endless. And there's a lot of cellists, you know, this is a technique that's been around for a while, but I think it's becoming more and more widespread as people become a little more just sort of fluid in terms of the genres that they like, you know, kind of exploring. So,
and that's what I enjoy so much, honestly. Like, I mean, like I said, I'm mostly like from a classical background, but in the past few years, I was in an ensemble called Classical Jam, and we did explore like improvisation and also like, well, not really different genres, blended genres, you know, like we might, you know, do like some Middle Eastern influence music, but still kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's still kind of classical, but I haven't really gone really far out like to like what the kinds of things that you do. Like, what other genres of music do you play?
Well, yeah, I mean, here, the first thing I would say is, you know, for me, even though like I've always had a lot of different interests in different genres of music, having like a really strong background in classical music was really, really important to me. And it's something that I really value. You know, I spent 6 years in conservatory and was, you know, as I'm sure, you know, as I know you did, learning a lot of the standard rep, concertos, sonatas, all of that jazz.
Jazz.
Yeah, maybe that's the wrong context for that.
All that classical.
All of that classical.
All that classical.
And that gave me like it just gave me a technical foundation that I don't think I would have had otherwise. So I have a lot of respect for the tradition.
Sure.
You know, this amazing tradition that we had, this like centuries old tradition that we have. But for me, like, yeah, it probably started on electric guitar, playing rock music and blues and stuff like that. And being the son of a jazz guitarist, as I got a little bit older, that became more and more appealing to me. So that became something that I got really seriously into as well.
Yeah.
But like, I've always just been into kind of everything, which I thought when I was in school was maybe like a disadvantage because I was so all over the place. And I had friends that were just so like, you know, laser focused on, you know, like orchestral playing, etc. But, you know, as I started to work as a professional, I found that actually I had some, you know, some cool opportunities that maybe I wouldn't have had otherwise if I were,
absolutely,
you know, wired the way that I am. So.
Yeah, and this is why I wanted to do this cello mastery series, because I want to show all the young cellists there's not just one type of career and one way of playing the cello. There are many different ways. And honestly, when I was growing up, the expectation, at least for me, was to chase after Yo-Yo Ma's kind of career. And that was only one aspect of having a performing career. You know, like you can look at what Jeremy's doing, which is so interesting, right? Like you go outside of the classical music box and you explore different genres, different ways of playing, and then you compose music and then you improvise. And now you are the new director of the New Directions Cello Festival. Tell us about that. What is that all about?
Yeah, I will. Just really quickly, my audio is kind of spotty on Instagram, so I turned you down on my phone and I turned you up on my computer. I hope there's no feedback problems, but just to let you know. So, yeah, no, let's see, a lot of stuff to unpack there. I'll talk about New Directions first. Yeah, the New Directions Cello Festival has a 25-year history of sort of showcasing and bringing together you know, just cellists that are kind of doing, you know, sort of like left of center things, non-traditional things. You could say non-classical, but I think, you know, so many of us have such a strong classical music background that I think that's maybe inaccurate, that there's still like roots in classical music, even if it's not obvious. So it was founded by this cellist named Chris White, who's just a fantastic cellist and human being. And he ran this for 25 years. And I had the pleasure of going last year there.
Okay, I hear you now. I thought I lost your audio for 1 second.
Okay, I'll back up just a little bit. Basically, yeah, New Directions has been around for 25 years. It was started by this cellist named Chris White. who, you know, it was sort of his passion project for his whole life. And he created this amazing sort of like forum for cellists who were doing alternative things to kind of get together and play for each other. And the last New Directions Cello Festival happened at the Berklee College of Music in Boston in 2019. And I went for the first time. Like, I had known about it forever, and I finally had a chance to go, and I brought a couple of my students, and we had a great time. And, you know, it was the last year that it was going to be happening. And I got to know Chris, and I just think he's just a fantastic guy, and we had like a good rapport and everything. So I just thought it was a shame if that didn't continue. So I kind of, during the pandemic, as you know, we were all stuck at home and just, you know, doing our things, the idea of the festival came back to me, and I thought, you know, this is around January of this year. I was like, man, what if we tried to do it virtually this year? Maybe that, you know, just to keep it alive. And so, you know, I met up with my good friend Phaedra Sassano, who I think is watching. She's a fantastic cellist and public school music teacher in Hingham, Massachusetts. And I knew that if she was on board, like, I felt like the two of us could kind of make it happen. And we've got some other,
that's fantastic, and I'm so glad that you're gonna like continue this virtually. Maybe turn me down a little bit because I hear my feedback.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. So my question is, I just want to get a taste of what this festival is about. Like, because I saw as soon as I found out about it, when you told me about it, I was like, wow, this looks so interesting. But I'm also a little bit like intimidated, to be honest with you. You saw how I was trying to shop. Like, if I were to attend, like, is this for like anybody or only for people who have experience playing outside of classical? Like, is this for like someone like me who's more or less a classical cellist?
Yeah, great question. And yeah, and 100% it is for you. It's really the thing that was so nice about my experience as a participant a couple of years ago was just like how open it was. There were people of all ages, you know, anywhere from like, you know, maybe my high school students that came on the younger end through like conservatory students, adult professionals and amateurs. It was this, like, the level was really all over the place. And like, and I mean that in a good way. Like, people were coming from all kinds of different backgrounds. There were really experienced improvisers. There were, you know, people that were more from the classical world that wanted to just check some of these new ideas out. There were strings teachers that maybe wanted to like introduce their students to new ideas. And so that's really the spirit of the festival that I wanted to continue, is create a space that hopefully everybody can feel comfortable, you know, whether they're just testing the waters with new ideas or whether they're, you know, really, you know, I mean, I came as, you know, I guess I consider myself a fairly experienced improviser and et cetera. And I got so much out of it. Like, some of my favorite cellists were performing and playing, and it was just really cool to kind of be there in the environment. And I'm pretty confident that we're going to, you know, even though in a virtual setting, that we can still like recreate that. So yes, it's for everybody. Yeah. That's great to know. Can you give us a taste of what are some of the musical ideas that will be explored and taught? And so I'm really excited about the lineup this year. So aside from myself, I'll do a little workshop and a performance, as will Chris White, the founder. And, you know, he's going to be talking about how to use chords and arpeggios to create your own chord progressions and compositions. So maybe taking stuff that a lot of classical cellists are familiar with and just sort of repurposing it maybe, or using it in a more like modular, creative way. My friend Jake Charkey, who's a fantastic cellist based in New York City, is he plays like North Indian Hindustani music on cello. Unbelievable cellist. And he's got
so amazing.
So he's going to talk about like approaching improvisation through the lens of Hindustani music and the various ornaments that you use in that type of music. He lived in he's American, but he lived in Mumbai for several years and got really deep into that tradition.
Amazing.
Yeah. My friend Seth Parker Woods is going to be doing a workshop on sort of like open improvisational systems, and he plays a lot of contemporary classical music, and he's going to use a piece by George Lewis, who's a really fantastic composer, and a piece that Seth has worked with him on, and like how improvisation maybe functions in a contemporary classical context. And then we've got Layla McCalla, who's an amazing Haitian American singer-songwriter, cellist, multi-instrumentalist, and she's going to talk about arranging music for cello that wasn't originally for cello.
Oh, that all sounds so interesting to me. Oh my gosh, just a lot of stuff.
It's going to be really all over the place in like I think the best way. Yeah, so I think there's something for everybody.
That's so interesting, and you know what's great, guys? This is virtual, so it doesn't matter where you're in the world, as long as you have internet, you can attend, right?
Yeah, I mean, so far we've got definitely mostly participants from the U.S., but all over the U.S. we've got a few from Canada, a few from Germany. We just had a registration from Spain and just had one from Singapore.
Wow.
Hopefully we'll get some others. I mean, the schedule it's definitely kind of optimized for people in the Eastern time zones of the U.S., but we're going to be archiving.
When is
it? It's the weekend after this. It's going to be June 26th and 27th.
June 26th and 27th, guys.
Yeah, it's going to be a kind of a weekend-long Zoom extravaganza, but we're going to be archiving everything. So all participants can access like all of the workshops and panels and concerts like after the fact. We're going to leave that open for the remainder of the year. So, like for example, I have a good friend from Kansas City that I grew up with. She's a fantastic cellist, and she has young kids like myself. She's not going to be able to check everything out, but she enrolled, and she's going to check out what she can in person, and then check out the other stuff later. And we just want it to be as accessible as possible for people.
Absolutely. And you know what? I definitely would like to attend because this is so interesting to me. I mean, the thing is, like, there's so many possibilities on the instrument, and I just love the idea of being able to explore other genres. This is so great. So what's the festival website again? Can you say it?
Yeah, festival. Sorry, I was like my daughter was yelling at me in the backyard. Oh, she's just yelling. Festival is New Directions, or the website is newdirectionscellofestival.org.
Okay.
And you can check it out for more information. You can register there if you're interested. And but hey, we'd love to have you, Wendy, and anybody else that's watching. If it's if it's something that you're interested in, whether you have a lot of experience with this stuff or it's totally new. I mean, I'll say there's a lot of stuff I'm just excited to check out that is going to be new to me, and so I get to like sort of benefit from bringing in artists that I really respect and hopefully learning from them as well.
That is so amazing. I'm really super psyched about this. This sounds amazing. I'm so glad you shared it with me. I thought before we end, can you, two things. We'll do two things before we end. One is, can you give us another mini lesson on how to rock out on the cello?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know what you choose to do. And then what we would like to do is to answer some live questions on Instagram and YouTube. So while we get a little mini lesson from Jeremy, you guys should put in your questions now so that by the time we finish, we'll have a bunch of questions, okay? So, hey, Xuan Wei! I see Xuan Wei from Sirius Quartet.
Xuan Wei, I know that guy.
We know Xuan Wei. Xuan Wei is a great friend of ours and also plays in the Sirius Quartet. Anyway, so give us another lesson so that I can, rock out on the cello a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So just since no,
not too hard, please, Jeremy.
Well, what's so cool about cello is it's like as you were saying, it's such a versatile instrument, and string instruments in general, string instruments in general. So let's do something just quick that you can kind of test the waters with. So, when you hear, let's say, just again to like kind of reference rock guitar or blues, what you hear oftentimes when you hear like a rock guitar solo is you hear somebody using what's called like the minor pentatonic scale or the blues scale. And I'll give you a simple one octave version. If we were to do like a D minor pentatonic scale, you could simply go, if you start on open D, fingering would just be open 2-4, open 2-4 on the D and then the A.
The Chinese scale. AKA.
Yeah, exactly. It's cool because it's been used in so many different cultures.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Music.
Not just the Chinese. I just know it because I'm Chinese, so that's why.
No, 100%. And that's actually and that's like a reference point that I use with a lot of my students for for the major pentatonic scale. Is that you hear it in Chinese folk music and you hear it in
Native American.
Yeah, right? Native American. It's such a big part of like the American tradition, folk music of all kinds.
Yeah.
And so it of course made its way into blues, made its way into rock music, and then there's sort of like the blues scale, which is the cousin of the minor pentatonic scale, where we just add one note.
There we go.
That's a note that feels really nice to bend in and out of.
Yeah.
Right, and there's a bunch of different ways that you can, having a fretless instrument, we have all these possibilities of bending notes, imitating like electric guitar vibrato, where instead of like sort of the normal classical vibrato, I might actually slide my fingers slightly back and forth.
Did you put it on a ponticello?
So then you can play around. Yeah, you can play around with overtones if you go really close to the bridge, and you can even like mess with the pressure that you put on your fingers. Right, you can just with an acoustic cello. Exactly.
Ooh, that would feel very cool.
You were already cool, Wendy. You were already.
I know, this makes me extra cool now that I've talked to Jeremy. Okay, give me a few more things that I can do easily.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So let's say if you take your pentatonic scale, right, and you can build all kinds of patterns off that. You can, as you did, you can kind of just run it up and down. And like, because on guitar, I was gonna demonstrate some stuff on guitar.
Yeah. You play your guitar. Play your guitar.
All right. So I'm gonna apologize in advance because I pulled my electric guitar out for like the first time in a year because my son plays drums and we were jamming. So I'm like super rusty, but I thought like it might be helpful to demonstrate some stuff.
That's all right. Well, yes. Oh, look at that guitar. It's beautiful.
This is my guitar that I've had since I was like 18. That's mostly still functional. But like on guitar, when you do vibrato, at least, I mean, it's different for classical guitar, but rather than, the traditional cello vibrato, can you guys see that? You'd actually bend the strings.
So what is it, like vibrato sideways almost?
Yeah, but that doesn't work so well on cello, but we can imitate it by going vertically up and down, right? So you get a much wider vibrato. So like to imitate that sound, you can just go a little, instead of having like a fixed anchor like you normally would with like a more traditional vibrato. You can change kind of the whole vibe of what you're doing.
So basically just really wide vibrato, right?
Yeah, you can experiment with it and you can see, right. Yeah, they really, I mean, that's very cool, Wendy. Like really quickly you can start to kind of explore a new universe, musical universe, I think. Yeah.
I'm going to try it on the NS cello.
Yeah, and then the electric will give you even another realm of possibilities. Yep. Which we got to talk more about because I have an electric as well, and it needs some dusting off. But I love to play.
Do you have it here? Can you show us?
I could, but it's going to take a lot of time because it's in its case, and it's like.
I don't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe in the future we could do another one. And
are you gonna play it at the New Directions Festival?
I'm going to do my set all with the acoustic, but one of the cellists that's performing is he's an Armenian cellist based in Los Angeles. His name's Artram Manukyan, and his whole set he's doing he's got a Yamaha electric. He's going to do a set with a drummer, and he's ridiculous. He's an amazing cellist that like, I don't know how to describe his music. It's kind of like a mixture of like jazz and hip hop and like kind of down tempo. It's very unique, and he just does it really, really well. So he's going to be doing some electric stuff. I would highly recommend just checking him out in general. He's amazing.
That's amazing. So Jeremy, there are classes, master classes, or workshops, or whatever you call it. Yep. But there are also performances. Yeah. So
basically, the schedule for each day, each of the 2 days, we're going to have 4 hour-long workshops. Starting 10 a.m. Eastern, obviously different depending on where you're at in the world. We're going to have 4 workshops per day because we've got a total of 8 artists. At the end of each day, we're going to have an hour-long panel discussion with the 4 artists that gave workshops that day.
So talking about panel discussion. Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, we're going to just kind of dive into, whatever, people want to talk about, basically. And then in the evening, each of the 4 cellists that gave workshops that day are going to play like short 25, 30-minute sets
Oh, wow. So this is really great. So like you've got your workshops, your panel discussion, and your performances.
Yep. So it's going to be jam-packed. Yeah. It's going to be a long, awesome weekend, I hope.
That's really cool. Can you mention the website again?
Yep.
I'm going to put the link also in the down bar.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. So yeah, newdirectionscellofestival.org.
Okay, that's pretty easy. Basically, the name of the festival and
name of the festival.org. Yep.
.org.
Yep.
Exactly. Okay. Well, this is so great. Thank you so much.
For sure.
Before we go, I do want to see if people have questions and comments.
Winnie, can I interrupt you and you and show you something? All right. So, I forgot that I had this, but I know that you and I have both played on the concert series at Penn State Erie.
Yes.
And I'm just gonna roll out something for the audience here, because I have this massive poster that I took home, and look who I found.
Classical Jam.
Since you mentioned Classical Jam, and then not only did I find that, but I have not just one really bad picture of my quartet. Look at that guy. But two. I was in two different groups that played on this concert series, and these are like probably like the worst photo shoots I've ever been a part of.
Back then. Like you had a different haircut and beard.
Yeah, my wife said I look like
a group besides the Series Quartet.
So this is a group called Cordis. Let me show you here. I feel like we look like a local news team in this photo. But that's a really cool group that's run by a cymbalum player named Richard Grimes. Cymbalum's like a traditional Hungarian folk instrument, and he built this custom electric cymbalum that he does all kinds of cool stuff with. And so that's another group that I play with occasionally. Hopefully we've got a tour happening in the fall. So,
but anyway, what kind of music though?
So I would say it's kind of like instrumental, like progressive rock with definitely like with classical leanings. It's like kind of a hodgepodge sort of fusion type group. Really fun group, and that's a group that I play mostly electric. And that gives me a chance to essentially use my guitar rig that I've had forever, and make a bunch of noise with the cello, which is fun.
That is so cool. Yeah, that's with Gary from Erie, Penn State.
Yeah.
Gary, he's the
Gary Vibrams, great guy.
Presented us multiple times.
So we were immortalized together forever on the Penn State Erie concert series.
That is awesome. So let's see if we have any questions. Let's start with Instagram. Sure. And if you see something, Jeremy, you can.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You can. The festivals are amazing. Somebody says. Lady Zen Cello says.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Hey.
Cello.
She's a long-term member of the New Directions family.
Oh, someone that has already been to the festival. Cello Patra Music says. The New Directions Cello Festival has been a tremendously positive experience for both my career and personal life. Look at that.
Yeah, well, that's Patricia Santos, who's on our board, and she's a wonderful human being, wonderful cellist, and she is part of the team helping making it happen this year.
Yes. Somebody asked, what about price? What's the pricing?
Yeah, so the price for the full price for two full days is $200. You can get a one-day pass for either day for $125, and then we also offer a small student discount for high school and conservatory students, which would give you $25 off either full registration, so that would make it $175, or $25 off a single day, which would make it $100 instead of $125.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this is a great deal because this is an investment in expanding your horizon in terms of not just classical music playing, right? And also seeing and experience other genres and different ways of playing. So important to your development as an artist. So I highly recommend it. It sounds amazing. Somebody did ask, are there scholarship options, which we already answered. Yeah. Sherway says, I don't know who Jeremy Harmon is.
Ah, that guy.
Such a jerk.
Such a jerk, always. Yeah, he's like my brother. I mean, he's literally my brother from another mother, and he's from half the world away, from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and I have stayed at his parents' house and met his parents, and he has stayed at my mother's house in the Metro Kansas City area. So we like to trash each other as good brothers do continuously.
Yes. So. He's an
amazing musician, amazing violinist.
Incredible violinist, incredible improviser.
Yeah.
Great, fun human being sometimes. No, I'm kidding. He's like my long lost Chinese brother.
Every once in a while, he can be tolerable. Every once
he's
in a while.
all right. He's all right. He's all right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all a lie, Charmaine says. He's being annoying.
Yeah. Always trolling that guy.
Somebody says, I want more music. Well, I guess you're going to have to come to the festival to see Jeremy play. But just giving you a little taste. Because I know I'm going to be there. I'm really excited about this.
Thank you again so much, Wendy, for having me on and being interested, and for everybody for listening and checking it out. I'm psyched. It's going to be a fun weekend.
It's going to be really, really fun. We do have one question from YouTube, Starlit Fuse. Hey, Wendy, I'm a beginner cellist, and I was wondering how you hold an electric cello without the body. How does it feel with just a neck? Actually, I'm going to let Jeremy answer that question because he's got a lot more experience playing different electric cellos.
That's a really good question. And, it depends on the type of cello you have. Like I know, Wendy, you've got the NS cello, which is a great instrument, but it has, the body is so small. It's so different feeling than a traditional cello. So I think the NS, right, it has a stand that you kind of position the height. But I think you can also use a strap if you want, but it's essentially like you kind of have to position it with the stand. The Yamaha silent cellos are cool because they have the plastic outline of the body, which does feel more like a traditional cello.
Right.
And then the one that I have like a custom electric that is also, it's like, basically just like a long 2x4, and it's got it's got a metal pole that goes out to like sort of simulate that you can kind of hold it with your knees. But the distance is too narrow, like it's narrower than a regular cello. So I always have to play it for a couple weeks, like every day, before I feel like I feel comfortable with it.
It's really, it feels like a different instrument. Like for me, this NS cello has 6 strings.
Yeah.
So it's, I'm supposed to do, well, not I'm supposed to, I want to do a video on my journey and learning the cello, but it's taking me a lot longer to make this video because I'm still learning how to play. So I don't want to share anything until I feel more comfortable with the instrument. But one thing I do have to tell you, like for the 6 strings, first of all, that's like a whole new thing. You have an extra E, an extra F in the bottom. So, and then also the distance between strings are narrower, kind of like, anyway. So it's like a whole thing. So you have to learn how to play it.
I think thinking of it as a different instrument is really useful. I mean, obviously you're going to be able to pick it up and play, but the reference points feel so different. Yeah, it takes a while, but it's super fun to play. Super fun to play.
Okay, we have one last question from YouTube. Mark Don, I think. Oh no, that's not the right one. Sorry. Oh, but he said something else. Wendy's channel techniques tips are very useful and efficient. Just love it. Thank you, Mark. I was actually looking at Ron Summers. Would love to hear you guys tackle someone like Mingus.
What's that?
Do you see that comment?
No, I didn't. Talking about playing some Mingus on the cello?
So this person would like you to tackle something like Mingus.
Oh, cool. I love Mingus. I'm a huge Mingus fan. I'll do that. I love, my favorite Mingus album is Mingus and I love Goodbye Pork by Hat, and my favorite is probably Portrait of Self in 3 Colors. I love his ballads especially. So
nice.
Yeah. Okay. Deal.
All right, everybody. Really, really happy to have you today, Jeremy. Thank you so much for sharing your gifts, your music, and your talent, and sharing some tips on how to rock out on the cello. But of course, everybody, if you want to learn more about how truly to rock out, and not just rock out, but different styles of playing and approach, and also like how you think about music. I think that's so important as part of your process as an artist, as a musician. Even if you're an amateur cellist, it's great to just learn different ways of approaching cello playing. So I guess I will see you and everybody at the new, what is it called? New Directions.
New Directions Cello
Festival, which is next weekend. And I am going to put a link everywhere on YouTube. And I guess for the link on Instagram, people should come to your Instagram, which is very easy. His Instagram handle is Cello Hang, which is so great. So find him there.
Yeah, and there is also a New Directions Instagram. If you just find New Directions Cello Festival,
and so that way you can find the link. All right, I think that's it for now. Ladies and Cello says, thanks, Jeremy and Wendy. Can't wait for the festival.
Awesome.
Okay,
see you there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Everybody,
thanks,
bye
guys.
for now.
Yeah. Thanks again, Wendy.
So
Thank you,
fun.
everybody, for checking it out. Hope to see some of you next weekend.
Bye, guys.